With our completion, even if it was a mixed-up order, of Season 1, we left off with Shaxx dead, Boimler gone, and Mariner's relation to her mother open knowledge. Season 1 was off to a rocky start, but it had found its direction. It's taking a very different approach to things, more DS9 compared to the Discovery and Picard era, avoiding the whole serialization that they had gone for, putting more of an emphasis on character relationships. Lower Decks at this point is very much like the central concept of its show, like a fresh Academy graduate who walked in and fell flat on their face, but started to find their groove until by the end of the season, they'd gotten everything together and understood what their life was now. Season 2.0 is now trying to move forward, but still young and figuring things out. Unlike other systems, the numbers used to score each episode here aren't an attempt to measure quality in a vacuum. It's how I think each ranks compared to all the others on a bell curve. For every episode that I think is better than average, there has to be one that is worse than average. That's how average works. So let's begin with our first episode of Season 2, Strange Energies.
I'll have to get your brain out of your skull and freeze it so I can nano-suture your dendrites by hand.
Timmy, please! I just want to go swimming with girls!
Then get me your brain!
Now!
Mariner and Captain Freeman have decided to give their relationship a fresh start to be a mother-daughter team. At the moment, Mariner's in a Cardassian prison where they intend to force her to talk, which is like forcing water to run downhill. It's less about making it happen and more about struggling in vain to make it go the direction that you need. Mariner breaks out of her restraints, takes the captor hostage, and makes for her escape, leaving Boimler to his fate for abandoning her by taking a promotion to the Titan. It's not the morally vacuous and petty thing that it seems, because all of this is just a holodeck program. Her workout. Mariner's way of coping with how annoying this mother-daughter thing has become. Unaware that Captain Freeman thinks the same thing. Oh, and Commander Ransom, especially Commander Ransom. She ignores his orders to do whatever she feels like. In this case, it's washing the filth off their buildings. It reveals, and then activates, an ancient orb that zaps Ransom, giving him a case of Gary Mitchell. Bad timing, as her husband, the Admiral, calls up Captain Freeman to say that after this success against the Packlids, she could be on her way up, so long as things continue to go smoothly. That's when Ransom's head leaves his body, swells, and begins gnawing on the ship. In the B-plot, Rutherford lost all of his memories of Tendi when his cybernetics were ripped off the side of his head. He's now dating Ensign Barnes, but it's the fact that he now likes pears that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. After shocking him and then hitting him with a folding chair both fail to cure him, Tendi really gets aggressive and hunts him through the ship, all in an effort to, and he must admire the ingenuity of the approach, make sure he doesn't stop liking her. As for Ransom, repeated blows to the groin and dropping a boulder on him sorts him out. We close with the terrifying adventure of Boimler being on Riker's ship, the Titan, in a case of be careful what you wish for. Though I don't think this specifically was what he'd wished for. Strange Energies gets a score of 4 out of 10. To repeat, this just means that the show is better than this episode on average. There's a lot going on under the hood with this. Starting with Ransom, we see him go mad with power. He wipes away their moon, starts turning a bunch of the locals into duplicates of himself. Ego completely out of control here. And yet, when he attacks the Cerritos, all he does is start biting it. He clearly can do so much more to harm it if that was what he wanted to do. The fact that he doesn't says he's just giving voice to his frustrations, even if it does involve gnawing on the ship. Beneath all his godly powers, he still cares about these people. As for Mariner, her choice to insert Boimler in her program just so she can not rescue him speaks of the depth of her anger. This then simmers in the background for this season, though it plays a significant role in the coda of our next episode, Kayshon, His Eyes Open.
This isn't my first guy got turned into a doll. He'll be back to normal in an hour.
Aw, look at this little guy. I could use him as puppet therapy.
Hey, Limo! Read the sign!
This episode sees the return of Jet from Cupid's errant arrow. He's taking Boimler's place in their dynamic. a problem since he and Mariner are both alphas. This isn't just an issue in the sonic showers when they try to outsonic each other, but also on the mission to deal with a collector ship. One of those guys like Kivas Fajo has died, and something has to be done with all of his crap. Leading the away team will be Shaq's replacement as head of security, Kayshon, one of the aliens from Darmok that speaks entirely in cultural references, like Family Guy. Luckily, the Universal Translator's gotten pretty good with handling their language, though it isn't perfect. Turns out the Hoarder has set up some booby traps in case anyone tries to take his crap after he's dead, and it winds up turning Kayshon into a puppet, as in a small plush toy. Seriously. It's because another collector, the one with all the tentacles, was taking a special helmet that Kalis had for when he was fornicating. You can be sure in the isolated review of this episode, I got a lot of mileage out of the fact this is Kalis' fucking helmet. That collector gets his comeuppance, but so too does Mariner when, while being bitter that they went for the safer route instead of the more dangerous one that would lead to where the power could be shut down, she assaults the flying cleaning drones and they come to kill them. It's only when things are handed over to Tendi and Rutherford that they provide a way out of this mess. As for Boimler, he's continuing to be terrified on the Titan as they deal with a Package ship, plus he's got to get caught up on all their steeped continuity over here. Things really feel like they all run together instead of being episodic like he's used to. The Packlids are after Veruvian, which is doubly of concern because it's potentially extremely dangerous, but also the Packlids are far too stupid to actually use it, meaning they're working with someone else. Boimler is on the team that goes down there pretending to be miners, but they're discovered when they go off mission. Rather than joining the others in their gleeful last stand, Boimler instead sciences their way out of this. Except there's a bit of a kerfuffle, and we get a Thomas Riker situation here, leaving two identical Boimlers, both with equal claims on being the real deal. We follow the one who is demoted and sent back to Cerritos, as they can't have both of them on board naturally. It would get confusing. Kayshon, his eyes open, gets a score of 6 out of 10, though in many ways these two episodes are halves of a greater whole. Their lower deck setting itself apart from the other Paramount Plus episodes that came before it, that instead of sneering at the TNG era, it unapologetically embraces it. Part of it is putting so much emphasis on the relationships. That was when TNG stopped being TOS light and really became its own thing. And this is Lower Deck's strength. The desperation for Tendi to hold on to her relationship with Rutherford after what happened is heartwarming and terrifying. And Mariner shows her complication because when the real Boimler returns, she exclaims, "It's my friend," and says of him, thinking that he could come crawling back after what he did, "You would be right." Coming back isn't as easy as it seems for Boimler, though, as he finds out in our third episode, we'll always have Tom Paris.
You're right. Thanks, Tom Paris.
I am a little worried about the fumes in here, though. Since you're talking to a plate.
I don't know. I kind of like him.
So the computer is having trouble understanding that Boimler is back and so won't feed him or open doors for him. Which is hilarious because the one that it's recognizing just fine is Shaxx. Didn't I say he was dead? Yes, I did. Now he's back and having no problem getting his lunch. Rutherford is agog, but Mariner just brushes it off as one of those upper deck things. They come back from the dead. What do you know? What matters far more is that Tendi has a special job for Dr. T'Ana to fetch a family heirloom for her, and Mariner joins her. They note that they never seem to pair up. This is a good demonstration of why, because while it starts fine, it winds up with Mariner opening the box, despite it, being private. I mean, it's incredibly private, actually. It's a special post that's used for Dr. T'Ana's species when the mating instinct becomes overwhelming. Mariner decides this culturally sensitive object should be the subject of her mockery, which goes from bad to worse when she then breaks it. It goes from there to still worse when trying to get it fixed gets the head smashed by angry Nausicaans. As someone stereotyped as being pirates and thieves, Tendi has to be extra cautious about appearances, and opening a box containing a private family heirloom sounds like something that a pirate or thief would do. But Tendi has no choice but to embrace the stereotype and go get an Orion to fix it. This again makes things even worse. In the B-plot, Rutherford tries to find out how Shax came back, but it seems something that you just shouldn't talk about. Finally, he must ask, and Papa Bear tells Baby Bear that not saying it is actually protecting him. But he then tells him about the Black Mountain and, well, some things you really shouldn't know. In the C-plot, Tom Paris is coming to Voyager, and Boimler wants to get his Tom Paris collector's plate signed, only he can't simply head to the bridge like this, so he goes through tunnels. He comes out disoriented from fumes, hair messed up and discolored, and his hero presumes he's a Kayshon and beats him up. It really gets him. Everyone appreciates his technique as he's walking them through how to properly kick the stuffing out of a Kayshon. And to cover for the broken totem, Mariner flies into the shields of the Cerritos, saying that there was a bee in the shuttle and it broke during the crash. So that's sorted. We'll always have Tom Paris gets a score of 3 out of 10. Part of the problem is that the self-referencing got out of hand, to the point of disappearing up its own asshole. There's a reason that I made that Family Guy crack. There's a point where it crosses a line back into just I am name-dropping stuff. This originates what I call a bed of meh. You know how you can lay on a bed of nails because there are so many nails there that none actually get through? Well, a bed of meh is similar in that too many little attempts at cuteness ultimately stops all of them from having any possible impact. Too many references and you get a bed of meh where recognition no longer gives that little spark that it normally would. That is, however, not a problem when we get to our next episode, Mugato Gumato.
What in the name of my ship?
I said the tractor beam.
It was, Captain, at the lowest tractor factor.
My whole life was on that ship. What have you done?
This episode opens with Boimler and Rutherford challenging Mariner at that game that we covered last week in the Icarus Factor. On finding out they've been practicing, Mariner cuts loose and beats the shit out of them, and impales Rutherford's hand. While recovering, the two hear from the bartender that she was supposedly built to be the perfect weapon, and finding out that something weird happened to everyone on the Atlantis makes Rutherford think there might be something genuinely off about her. As the title indicates, the Mugato, those apes with the horn that we saw back on TOS, were spotted by some Denobulan scientists, and they need to be relocated because they're endangered. On the mission, led by Shax, they find out the Ferengi have captured all the Mugato for exploitation, and during the intervention, the Ferengi whip overloads the cage controls and lets their huge, super strong venomous Mugato free. During this, we see Mariner stab Shax and bite at the wound, and Rutherford and Boimler assume she's gone full River Tam activation and made a run for it. They run across a Mugato and a Mugato expert who promptly gets his head bitten off, and they witness copulation. And speaking of being screwed, Mariner comes looking for them and gets her foot caught in a Mugato trap. She says that she was the one who started the rumor about being Black Ops' perfect weapon, and she was just sucking the venom out of Shax after he'd been bitten. As the only ones who aren't caught, it comes to Rutherford and Boimler to break everyone else out, which they do by devising a business proposal whereby the Ferengi would see more profit from a legal Mugato preserve than from an illegal Mugato horn harvest. In the B-plot, Tendi gets pushed away from treating her own patient, but Dr. T'Ana gives her a chance to be more assertive by having her get scans from everyone who's been skipping their physicals. Tendi gets all but the last one, because there's no name there, it's just a patient ID number. But Tendi deduces that this is T'Ana herself, who picked her because she presumed that Tendi would give up at the very first obstacle. Well, the hunt is on, but Tendi's arm gets broken. However, seems this was all part of the plan, knowing Dr. T'Ana would come to check the wound so that she could then be scanned. Hardcore. Mugato Gumato gets a score of 2 out of 10, which at least means we've gotten the 3 worst episodes out of the way and everything is a 3 and up from now on. Mike Nelson's movie Mega Cheese includes an essay where he comments on his dislike of mob movie violence while loving the Three Stooges, which is, objectively, three grown men beating the crap out of each other. The border between physical comedy and the infliction of psychotic harm is up to each person. For me, Mariner started this episode out on the wrong foot, and the episode didn't redeem itself after that. The lowbrow humor, like a cuckold Mugato tugging his horn, illustrates the problem as well, because they belabor the jokes. Like all their comedy, whether physical or lowbrow, is taken past the point of comedy into just sad behavior. I didn't hate it, for the same reason I didn't hate episode 2, thanks to Rutherford's plot there. But there's enough crap, no pun intended after the Mugato dung running gag, enough crap that this just doesn't deliver. So let's close this out with an embarrassment of duplers.
Buckets, buckets, buckets!
Fascinating.
If you're wondering, a dupler is an alien species who has a defense mechanism that involves duplication. This is a problem because it's not when threatened, but when experiencing social embarrassment. The fact that duplers are voiced by Richard Kind should tell you that this happens often. On the other side of this diplomatic mission is an exclusive party, which the lower deckers cannot attend except for Mariner's clever scheme. For once, Boimler is all in on such a scheme. It involves his Titan counterpart, who has an invitation, except the Titan's not going to be anywhere near this to attend the party, so Boimler can go as Boimler, since he's obviously very qualified. Mariner can then be his +1, purely his platonic friend. Well, platonic frenemy anyway. What gives them cover is that Captain Freeman complains about the dupler just as he walks in, and thus begins duplicating in embarrassment. Boimler and Mariner are then dragged into her old business. She stranded some guy on SETI Alpha 4. Now he wants them to transport some stuff for him in order to make up for it. Specifically, these data bubble bath. As a bonus, he'll tell them where the party's at. Only there's illegal weapons underneath the bubble bath, and they wind up getting into a car chase. But they manage to lose the authorities and make it to the party, only to learn there is no +1. This is when the tension of his leaving finally boils over. Mariner wants to know why Boimler never apologized for getting promoted and leaving, and he never apologized because she never indicated she needed one. People who spread rumors they're killing machines usually aren't that emotionally needy. But he winds up leaving the party anyway to hang out with her in a sleazy bar that it turns out is where Kirk and Spock once hung out. Tendi and Rutherford spend the episode working on a model Cerritos, only for Rutherford to learn that before he lost his memories, they deliberately never finished the model in order to preserve a private project for just the two of them. And for the dupler problem, Freeman realizes after losing it that while embarrassment will cause them to split, offending them makes them merge. So with this crew, they're able to easily insult the duplers back down to just one. And when Freeman finds out that California-class crews are not welcome, she has the dupler ambassador beamed into the party. That shows them. An embarrassment of duplers gets a score of 6 out of 10. What an impressive achievement. We have an A, B, and C plot, plus an action scene. And every one of these work. It uses them to keep the pacing on track, so that no scene starts too early or ends too late. Throw in a great guest star, and this is a real return to form for Lower Decks. Yes, there has been some weakness in some of the episodes we've covered today, and oddly enough, it's a reversal of my original fear. After the first 2 episodes of Season 1, I was convinced that the Mariner-Boimler relationship was completely toxic. Now the ones where they're paired up with a different Lower Decker, they wind up being the weak ones, and it's only when they're back together again that things are back on track. Clearly the show recognized this was a relationship that was broken, and now that it's fixed, the show has got some real heart to it. Next time we'll take a look at the back half of Season 2 before moving on to Season 3.
You face!
You, madam, have crossed the line.